Welcome to Fix It for Josh's Sake. Today I want to work on this motorcycle because, well, as all of you in the Midwest might know, the snowmobile season was non-existent. In fact, we never even got a chance to get on the track once because our association couldn't safely say the lakes were able to hold us out there on the racetrack. So today I'm going to pull the cover off of this 1985 Yamaha XJ650, my little scooter motorcycle here, and get it ready for a springtime startup, first startup of the year. Let's pull the cover off this and get it going. Before I even get started on this motorcycle, I'm just gonna mention that I got myself a battery tester set out here, got myself a trickle charger set out here, got myself a air pressure gauge, and a little can of gas. You know, sometimes these things need gas in them to start. So these are my supplies to do my inspection, check, top up off everything, and make sure it's ready to go. From there, though, we're gonna go up here. We're gonna put the key in the ignition. We'll see if the dash, okay, look at that. We got lights on. Now I'm gonna grab my electrical tester and see how many volts we got in this battery. When checking the voltage on a battery like this, I have a little strategy on it. First of all, you got a good old cheap tester here. Set it to 20 volts. You always wanna set your voltage higher than what you're testing. So if I was testing a larger battery, like say a 150 volt battery, this would probably burn out. If I set it on 20 volts, it would burn out the tester. So anyway, 12 volt battery, set it on 20 volts, should be just fine. The second thing I do is when I'm holding this, I got two fingers back here, I always stick this tester into these two fingers like this. And I know technique probably sounds funny. A lot of you guys are like, come on, I know how to use a electrical tester. But the reason why this works well for me is because I can stick my tester right down in there, touch the terminal that's positive, obviously paying attention to that, and then touch this one over here. Okay, so I'm sitting at 12.20. To me, that's pretty low. I would like this to be a little higher, so I'm going to put a charger on this and give this a little, a little caffeine before we start saying we're going to run it for the season. Now, they say that patience is a virtue, and I want this battery to charge, and I know I should be patient, but my goodness, look at this day. It's absolutely gorgeous out here in Minnesota, and I really want to ride. So rather than plugging in my trickle charger, I've got this good old trusty charger that's a little bit bigger and pushes out a little bit more amperage. So I'm going to hook that up, and I'm going to show you my process that I believe is the safe and correct way to do it. Okay, this is not plugged in. This is sitting here like this, right? We're going to grab our positive. We're going to hook it in. There it is. Get the negative and hook that in. Okay, now we can come over here and plug this in. Highly recommending following that process of not putting juice to the charger until you have your battery properly hooked up, because otherwise you can get arcing and sparking going on your battery as it starts to receive a charge. Yep, you can see that's working, huh? All right, yep, we're going to charge this battery up good. Now it's time to check some tire pressure. So we come up here and we got to see how this is doing. The tire says max PSI is 32 pounds per square inch. They put a little tag like this on here. Now, don't be fooled. Your motorcycle in its manual has a tire pressure rating that it suggests for how you ride. For example, on this bike, Yamaha said if you're riding gentle and easy and enjoying the streets on a Saturday afternoon, you're going to want your tire pressure somewhere around 26 to 28 psi. if you're screaming eagle in it and balls to the walls down the highway, they say push it up to about 30 psi. So keep that in mind. Consider how you drive, how you ride, and how you want to have your tires set up. Okay. Isn't it funny how whenever you roll your motorcycle in and you want to look for the valve stem, it's like it always gets into the weird little quirky spot back here? I don't know how that works. But anyway, so here's my valve stem. We're going to check the tire pressure on this thing. So the backstory on this motorcycle is I was bored one day and looking on Marketplace, and I found this thing minus the headers and muffler, minus the handlebars, minus the headlight, minus the blinkers. It was a running motor. Carbs were off. He would spray ether or whatever in, and the motor would pop. And I'm like, okay, we got some running conditions here. And he wanted it off of his backyard for $100. So I started buying things that kind of felt like it made sense to this ratty bratty motorcycle. And Scully's just kind of, made sense to me because it's kind of like this motorcycle's been to the boneyard and came back. So anyway, there's my cute little story on a fun little purchase I made and fixed up a bike along the way. All right, we're not even at 20 psi. Let's get the air compressor out and fill that up a little bit. Way too much. Oh, that's a rookie mistake. Well, first tire pump up of the year. I guess I'm allowed to make a little bit of a misjudgment there. Oh yeah, that's a little hot. So, try one more time. Okay. There we go. A little strong on 26. To me, that's perfect. What I said is I plan on doing some easy riding with this bike. So, to me, 26 is perfect. Let's put this little Scully cap back on. I like to keep my valve stem clean, keep the dirt from getting in there. It's amazing how many times people are like, oh, my tires keep leaking and I can't get them to hold there and I got to get them patched or the bead fixed or something. And I just always say, replace the valve stem in here. Just start there. That's like 50 cents. And they're like, no, that can't be it. That's too simple. And I'm not kidding you. Almost every time, it's such an easy fix. This is a really nice aluminum bead. The motorcycle tires are designed well. It's very seldom that there's a leak somewhere around here. Your weakest point is this valve stem. So just check that always when you're trying to fix a leak on a tire. There you go. There's my rant. All right, let's check this back tire. Again, where the heck is it? Oh yeah, way down here. Found you. All right, let's get this one off. That one might be a little low. It's important to have the right tool for the job. This particular attachment won't get in there because of how the brake assembly is here. So had to switch over to the good old classic nozzle like this and pump it up like that. Let's see where we're at. All right. Oh, let's give it a little bit more. I don't think 20 is enough. Let's see where this goes. Where are we at? There you go. 20. I gotta pump my air compressor up. Oh, let's see what that did for us. Come on. Darn it. I wonder if my valve stem is plugged up. Well, what I figured out here is in order to get enough pressure to push that valve stem down with this nozzle is I had to use two hands. And so I'm obviously using the phone in one hand. So anyway, put the phone down and pump this up. Heard a decent amount of air go in there. Let's see what's going on now. And now we've got a lot of pressure. So we'll give it a little relief here. Let's see where we're at. 20, what does that say? 20, yeah, 26, 27, somewhere in there. All right, I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. I'm sure none of you guys use trashy, crappy plastic valve stem covers, but if you do, just be really careful, because they don't put very much threading inside of these housings. You know, you get the dice and the bullet caps and the scullies and all those cool little quirky valve stem covers at the auto parts store. Just be careful. Obviously, if you buy like a machined aluminum one, that would thread on and you wouldn't have to worry about it. But these plastic ones, they're pretty tender. Okay, we got our tires pumped up. I feel like those are safe now. Let's go back to this battery and test where this level is at, so that we can decide if this is ready to give it a shot at starting. Okay, 13.24. I feel like that's pretty healthy. All right, that's a good start. Moved on to the other side here, up here to the carburetors. I know some of you guys have this fancy thing called EFI. Well, these here have a float bowl and a needle and seat and a bunch of other stuff that we got to make sure is working good. So I do something a little different when I am starting my bike first thing in the season. First thing I do is I do go up here and I turn my choke on. Okay, so we got that. Make sure you're using your choke when you're cold starting your motorcycle. And then, of course, the second thing we're doing is we're going up here and we're turning the key and we're looking in here and we're going, hey, there's not much gas in there. So we're going to put some gas in there. But I'm going to show you the third thing in a second that I do as well, that I think is a really important thing to help your motor be really happy when it needs to start. Now, what I'm going to do, I do at my own risk. It's my risk. And so you might not want to do this, but what I do is take my seat off so I can get to my airbox inlet right here. And that airbox comes into the bigger part of the airbox right here and feeds all 4 carburetors in that carb bank. All 4 of them are breathing through this little inlet right there. Well, the reason why I'm telling you that is because there's a good chance that you guys drained out your float bowl and everything in the winter to winterize this, and these are all empty. And so we got to get the vacuum and the pressure going from the pistons moving up and down to draw gas into these carburetors to get them to start. So what I do is I take a little splash of gas and pour it right here into my air cleaner, so that there are the fumes and the explosive properties that these carburetors will have as soon as these float bowls fill up. I'm able to give that to my motorcycle and my engine right away by putting a splash in there. Some old timers would go to the hardware store and get a can of ether. I don't really like ether. Yes, it works. It will explode. That stuff's amazing. But I feel like it's a little hard on the rings, on the cylinder sleeves, all that kind of stuff, because it's really dry. And so I take the gas that's in this gas tank and just a splash into my air cleaner, so the fumes kind of are percolating in there and they help the motor breathe, and boom, it pops a lot quicker doing that. All right, we're about ready to turn the key. We got the choke on, we've got the gas full, we've got a little splash of gas in the air cleaner, and so we know that lights up, our neutral light's on. We've got our switch on here, and we'll give it a turn or two. Oh, a little rough. Okay, so that's a good start. I'm actually going to dump one more splash of gas in here and see if this puppy really does want to run for spring. Gotta love an old Yamaha starter, right? All right, there we have it. We're running. Woohoo! While you're letting your motorcycle warm up, remember to leave your choke on for 3 to 5 minutes so that everything can start to get moving and running real nicely. And then when you shut your choke off, your bike will continue to run nice. All right, well, that's fun. I'm glad to hear this motor run again this spring. A couple other things you're going to want to check is make sure that your clutch lever is nice and smooth. If these cables get rusty or crusty, your clutch action is going to be very difficult, and your clutch should move very easily. Unless you got some really hocked up, hot rodded motorcycle, traditionally a clutch is very smooth. And when it's difficult to move, consider replacing your cable, or at least lubricating it. The second thing you need to check is make sure your brakes are working, and make sure that your calipers are properly engaging on the wheel. And those are, down here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to roll the bike back and forth and make sure that the brakes engage and stop the tires properly, both the front and the back. All right, so we need this tire to stop too, just like we need that tire to stop. And the last thing I'll be checking is I'll be making sure that my headlight works. That's definitely important. And I'll be making sure that my blinkers work. I know some of you badass hot rodders out there don't think blinkers are important, and you wave your arms and stuff like that. And that's cool. I respect how you ride. Hope you wear a head bucket. Hope you put some boots on when you ride, that sort of thing. But for me, I want to make sure my blinkers work when I'm riding. And I feel a little bit more safe and responsible when I'm doing that. Right blinker, yeah. Left blinker, yeah. All right, headlight, do we got one? Okay, there it is. All right, everything's good. Let's check these back blinkers. Okay, right blinker, left blinker. We should probably check the brake lights, right? Here we go, give it a push. There it is. Okay, we got brakes. Perfect. Well, there we have it. I went through, made sure the battery had a decent charge. That's the first thing I do before I even turn the key or push the starter button, because I want my starter to have all the energy it needs to turn this motor over. The oil's been sitting, the carbs are dry, the cylinders, the piston rings are dry. I want to give it a good strong boost right off the bat, so I always make sure my battery is charged properly before I even turn the key. The next thing we got to always check is our gas. Make sure there's fuel, make sure it's getting to the carburetors properly. Of course, we checked the air pressure, we checked the brakes, and we checked the lights to make sure everything's working correctly. I want to point out a couple of things about lights. Blinkers will always work when you turn the key on. They're kind of like running lights, that's fine. If they stop blinking, check your resistor, make sure that that's good. Same with your headlight though. When you turn the key on most motorcycles, your headlight will not turn on until you start the motor. And if the headlight doesn't come on when you start the motor, there's a possibility that a relay burned out there as well. Other than that, that's a great example of how I get my bike ready to go for the spring fling of good weather here we're having in Minnesota. I hope you enjoyed it as we fix it for Josh's sake. Thanks for watching.